thanks for having me today.
Okay.
It's great to meet the Shareflo team, and it's been a real pleasure to include Shareflo as part of our Chew on the Storytelling community. So I'm Cici Woo. I'm the creator and host and producer for Chew on This Storytelling. The way that we came about was as a live storytelling series in California. We also made our way from the Bay Area over to Sydney and came back. And what we found when we came back is that we were invited into virtual reality. So we used the opportunity to meet people in person as well as virtually, globally, to bring together people who have a creative and entrepreneurial mindset.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So was True on the Storytelling like your concept originally, or did you work with a team of people just to conceive it, or?
Well, I started it, and
Okay.
I've been really fortunate along the way. The reason I began was because my journey as a storyteller was to bring awareness around mental health, and that ties into the story of my mom who has severe mental illness. So that was my storytelling journey, and what I realized is that there's a lot of power among, sharing story and gathering people together, especially in a time when sometimes people are afraid to be creative or they're like, oh, I don't know how to be creative. So that's why I wanted to start the storytelling series. And as it's evolved, I actually have had a number of wonderful people contribute in different ways, not all at the same time. But I would say we've been really lucky to have an ongoing team of people as well as what I call our kitchen cabinet. So those are people who have tremendous backgrounds who've been able to contribute their viewpoint to help us sort of guide the direction that we're going in.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, because after watching, I think it was the June VOD. You brought in. I saw a musician playing, like he was on. He was playing a virtual keyboard. What kind of other guests do you bring on, and what kind of stories do you want to share? As Chew on the Storytelling evolves.
Thanks, Spencer. What you're talking about is that was the first ever piano performance in virtual reality. So, in order to make that happen, the engineers at AltSpace VR did an incredible job of creating a keyboard that could be seen. But in order for our musician, Larry Steelman, who used to play with Mick Jagger, Johnny Mathis, Dizzy Gillespie, and others, as well as head up the Musical Institute keyboard department in Hollywood for a number of years,
Oh my
um,
God.
he was groundbreaking in his own way as a musician. And what we're doing is bringing in people from all walks of life. So prior to that, we had Dr. Elisa Quintana from NASA SETI Institute. And so she's literally with her team of explorers discovering over 4,000 planets. And the other folks that showed up with her, entrepreneurs, who again are bringing really wonderful new things. People like Todd Jason, who's developed Amplifield, and that's for global meditation. So people from around the world can have an intention and meditate together. So whether it's a musician or an entrepreneur in the tech space or a scientist like Dr. Quintana, looking to find people who are inspiring. Maybe they didn't know what they wanted to do originally and somehow stumbled into their path, and sharing a little bit about what that looks like.
Wow, yeah, I'm loving the answers.
Yeah.
This is just so much to go off of. Because at Shareflow, what we're doing, one of our growth strategies is to just like highlight, different people in the tech and VR entrepreneurial scene, and the way we want to kind of do this is kind of just like bring live like interviews, like actual people,
Right.
and just these stories are incredible. So, do you find that the virtual reality space helps people to express themselves better than to say if they were to do something like, a piano performance in real life? Like, obviously, the first ever virtual reality performance, that must be nerve wracking to someone. But, do you think in the VR space it allows them to be more comfortable?
Well, I think that's what I'm interested in exploring. Particularly, there's ways in which we're first of all there to bring humanity together. And we had a very interesting conversation the last time we were in virtual reality, where someone from Switzerland asked, why do kids need a ride somewhere? Kids here walk. And so we had a very interesting cultural discussion about that. So in some ways, it can bring people from across the world closer together in virtual reality. The way that I'm also interested in exploring what virtual reality can bring is what someone might call a rare occasion, which is to feel safe and share out something like a mental health challenge that they may not feel safe sharing on a anonymous forum, or because you are there with your avatar, and so someone knows that there's a person there, and because there are other people around that can interact in real time, it wouldn't necessarily allow it to go to the extreme that some forums can go to. So I'm very interested in allowing the virtual reality space to be one in which people can express their viewpoints, share what's really going on in their lives, and get support if they need it.
That's so cool. So tell me a little bit more about the avatars in Chew on the Storytelling. Like, are they allowed to create their own, or do they use like custom ones, or because obviously they're not representations of themselves, they're playing actual, they're just playing like kind of like a second world, like they just create like their own thing. So what was like kind of the concept behind that? Did you want to remain that anonymous kind of thing, or are you not ready to express themselves like as they look in real life?
Well, I thought it was an interesting opportunity because we came on very early in AltSpace VR's journey. So they have a select number of avatars, and they are growing, every time. But there's a selection, and anyone can pick their combination of colors and shapes. And you can look like a robot or ninja, or a swirl, or even look like just a cartoon version of somebody, a human being. But what I loved is that I was able to select this sort of ninja robot looking avatar, and I keep the same one every time. And our environment changes as well. So we've gone from being in a comedy club to what I call my house, which is like a multi level building home with a fireplace, to being in a theater on a planet in outer space. So, the challenge is to allow people to connect without necessarily basing it on the things that we normally base it on, like what you look like, what
Right.
you're wearing. Although I think there may be some interest in having some fancy shoes for the female.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that because the only real experience I have with like virtual reality is probably just how I see it in media. There's different takes on it. I mean, I watch a lot of like Japanese anime, so like they kind of go into it a little bit with like, and then there's also there's Second Life, but that's not really necessarily a VR space. It's kind of just a virtual world. But I can see that with technology such as the Oculus Rift and like that kind of like they're going to make different clients for that kind of space. So, so basically, like, how did you go from, I obviously you have your doctorate. So how did you go from? Were you studying this initially, or how did you get into this virtual reality?
I like how you obviously.
Yeah.
It's not really obvious. I
Eh,
have a
well, it's
background
your
in
website. I mean, looking
public
you up.
health
Yeah.
and clinical trials. And so I spent my career developing medicines for everyone from very sick babies with infant botulism to older adults, aging people with osteoporosis. So it wasn't an obvious leap for me to go into storytelling. In
Right.
fact, it was contradictory in some ways. However, because I felt so compelled to share that there were amazing resources and people available to help those with mental health challenges in the Asian American community, I did what other people might not do, or what I would never have expected to do, which is to get on stage and speak about that in story. So that's how I made that leap. And, in virtual reality, I never would have expected either to be able to inhabit the avatar space. But what I found is people are not only interested in playing games or flying or having these sort of extreme experiences, they're actually also very interested in connecting in long form. So, although the technology right now may be very limited in terms of duration, they may only have 20 minutes before their battery runs out. Possibly, if they're in an appropriate setup, they may have a little bit longer. So, we have to prepare our storytellers to know that, and try to get the audience involved so they do have some interaction with our guests, which again is part of the feature of what we do. A student in astrophysics was able to connect with Dr. Quintana even after the show. So for someone who was hearing about Dr. Quintana talk about her mentor, Dr. Sally Ride, who was the first female astronaut, then to have that connection with Dr. Quintana through our show is something that we're really pleased to be able to provide.
Wow, that's such like a great, just networking opportunity, and even like, just connecting with people like in very, almost untraditional means. But I think it's becoming, in the near future, I think VR is going to be more of like, more traditional, because, to the general public, I feel like, we hear about it, but there's obviously some skepticism. So I guess tell me a little bit about like how I wanted to go back to the interaction, because you were noticing, you were saying about how they interact with guests. So how can people using your medium, Chew on the Storytelling, how can they interact with the VR space, both as a host and as a guest?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great question. Again, we're fortunate to work with AltSpace VR, which is focused specifically on social VR, and they've developed what they call front row technology. So in fact, it can accommodate any number of people to come into the space. What we do is we give our guests time to share, and I usually do it in an interview format, although sometimes we have comedian storytellers who come in and just really bring it for the audience. And so what we do through the interview format is to allow the audience to ask questions, and you'll find that those questions are often quite savvy. So when we've had musicians on, or even, our astrophysicist example, we really get some very engaged questions. So that's the opportunity there. As far as interaction, we always take a group selfie at the end. So that's another little piece that we look forward to as well.
That's awesome. Obviously, at Shareflo, we would love to, attend one of your events, because, we're learning more about, the tech world, and, how we can interact with, various different kinds of people from various different backgrounds. Where do you see the benefits of virtual reality for, us as technology entrepreneurs? Where do you see like the main benefits for those kind of people in the entrepreneurial world?
Yeah, virtual reality is.
Can you? Yeah,
I can hear you.
I can hear you. I think it might be cutting out a little bit, but
okay.
All right, now I can hear you. Perfect.
The virtual reality that we're experiencing now is like having the road paved as you're walking or running, right? So it's just a few feet ahead of us. It's actually quite inspiring that that we can see the world being built. Every time Chew on the Storytelling goes into AltSpace VR, it's almost a different experience. So as entrepreneurs, we always have to adapt, and to be in a virtual reality world that is also adapting around us, I think is really the opportunity. What we're looking at, and this is something we discussed with Jory Desjardins, of one of the co-founders of BlockHer, is that we are at this frontier, and it is up to us to figure out the rules of engagement. So if we want to build something that's really going to benefit everyone, how do we operate? How do we engage with each other in the virtual reality space? Mm-hmm. So how do we offer those connections? How do we benefit each other? How do we work with each other's platforms so that we can all elevate? So that's why I was so excited to have Shareflo as part of our Chew on the Storytelling Slack community, because it's not virtual reality. It's very,
right.
You could say it's just down to pixels. But in fact, because we have people from Australia, people from Europe, people all across the United States and Asia connected to each other, they have their own connections. And so someone from Australia can say, hey, I have someone coming over to New York, and then I can ping Joel of Shareflo and say, hey, maybe you'd like to go to a Shareflo event. So someone from Australia has the opportunity to attend an event that's being put on by Shareflo in New York City.
Of course,
so
yeah.
I think we can do that in the real world, and virtual reality would just be another location, so to speak, for us to do the same thing, which is to talk about what we're doing, share that out, inspire each other, and that's what I look forward to.
Yeah, we look forward to it as well. It sounds incredible. The amount of work and just the amount of just thoughts and ideas that you put behind it is just really all inspiring for people. So
it's definitely just a whole different perspective to sharing ideas and coming together because, like you said, it's just another location. And I guess, coming from my perspective of never really thinking about getting into that, it's a becoming thought because it is really another location as you're explaining it and seeing it on the YouTube channel and everything like that. So it's something that's very exciting to see how it transforms.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, it is fun, and I like to joke with the audience that for those of you in the future, such as yourself, that you can give us a glimpse of what's happening. I guess another aspect that I bring, which I'm very mindful of for virtual reality space, and my intention as a person working with tech entrepreneurs is to offer the benefit of slowing down, the benefit of really being able to focus in. And so by bringing in people like Randy Tarrant of Project Happiness, we're actually offering another way of supporting tech entrepreneurs. So we bring in people who provide really, I would say, nourishing perspectives. Mm-hmm. And so if someone learns to meditate, someone learns how to do Qigong, someone learns how to really reconnect with themselves and with their body, that is another way that we really want to specifically support tech entrepreneurs so that they don't end up engaged and disconnected from themselves.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That sounds great. So when can we catch the show? Is it free for the public to attend? Is it do you organize it yourself, or do you just have people, they say they want to do this and then they give you a time, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I've been really fortunate. I reach out to my network, and I also, of course, always invite if anyone knows someone inspiring they would love to see on the show. I'm always welcome, and they can send those recommendations to me at chewonthisstorytelling@gmail.com. And what I do is organize the live events that are at the Marsh Theater in Berkeley. That's the first Tuesday of every month. And so there we have our own jazz trio, which includes Larry Steelman, as well as our good friend, co-founder, and drummer, Jan Uwitz Ayakaba Ando, and Paul Eastman on bass. And then on the third Tuesday of each month is when we're in virtual reality. So in virtual reality, I tend to focus more on female founders as well as social entrepreneurs. But it's really not limited, as you know from the music and the piano performance. So we're looking ahead. We're very excited to have in this next month in September, we're celebrating our 1-year anniversary. So we're going to have a live performance in Berkeley, a party of sorts. We've got Christina Wong, a comedian actress, coming up from LA to be part of that, as well as some other wonderful folks. And then our September 20th show in virtual reality is free for anyone to attend through their computer, and they can register for that. The link is on our website, chewonthisstorytelling.com. And that one will include the CEO of Urban Sitter, Lynn Perkins, as well as Wendy Hugh, who is a chocolatier. So Wendy has a really amazing story. I think chocolatiers are not born every day, but maybe she was born for this. She had a fortune teller tell her that whatever she did, it would be like hands-on. Wow. So she's going to share how she brought her dream of being a chocolatier to life. So
that's awesome.
So that's what we have to look forward to. So we would love to have people join us in virtual reality every third Tuesday of the month at Altspace VR and in person in Berkeley. We also do go sometimes to other locations, so we're looking forward to getting to New York City sometime and partnering with Shareflo.
Definitely. Please come. That would be excellent.
Definitely let us know. And any big events we can plan for in the future, we could definitely make arrangements as well. So
that's awesome. So definitely. Thank you for allowing us to pry your mind a little bit and just talk to you. It was just really nice to talk to you and just learn about this. And we're definitely going to be promoting this on all of our social media channels. So we'll probably do like a blog, and then we'll probably just like, share this, segments of this audio call with people. So as long as you're okay with that,
Yeah, of course. I would love to maybe just mention one more thing.
Of
Yeah, of course.
And that's that we do, especially at our live show, we do a spotlight on local businesses. So what that means is we find, again, these like inspiring entrepreneurs, and we really track their story as well as offer those products to our audience. So we've got things from Epic Coffee, from Grub Market, which you may have heard of. They're now national. It's like farmers market to your door, and they're it's just amazing. And we've got like all natural body products from Archetypal Musings. We have discounts from the Writing Pad, which is an award-winning writing set of classes. They're based in LA, but they're also online and in San Francisco. So people who aren't necessarily sure how to pursue their dreams can actually access all of these different things through us. For tech founders, we've got access to developers. So we have teams of developers both in the US as well as elsewhere that they can get introduced to and work with. And then we have discounts for places like Founder Suite. So we're really looking to, we're branching and growing very specifically with these groups so that they can help to support the dreams of the people in our community.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's awesome, like bringing these communities together, just, in ways that, people wouldn't even have thought of, or just like, it's very powerful. Just, I love it. It's inspiring for us too. So it's like, just, as like, a startup, like, we're trying to, everyone, has the stigma where we're trying to revolutionize things, and we really are, we're always like, thinking outside the box, and just very, connecting with people in different ways. And, it's an incredible feeling. So yeah, thank you again. Really appreciate, taking your time out of the day to talk with us. And
Great.
Perfect. Thank you.
all right, bye.
Bye.
Bye.